Did LSU just land their new Friday night ace? It's Locked on LSU. Here we go.
You are Locked on LSU, your daily podcast on the LSU Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Okay, let's get it. It is Locked on LSU, your team every day. I'm your host, Matt Moscona. Thanks so much for making this your first listen. We are free, available wherever you get great podcasts, of course, on YouTube as well. So please subscribe. As always, one of the fastest ways to help us grow is by leaving your comments below. So thank you sincerely for that. We are wrapping up SEC football media days, my final show from here in the hotel room in the Omni Atlanta. And we do have a conversation with Cole Cubelic of the SEC Network coming up. We'll recap media days so far, but we got to start with some gigantic news for Jay Johnson and the LSU baseball team as the greatest recruiter in the sport just continues to chug along. On Wednesday, we learned that LSU has added Cooper Moore from Kansas. Now, if you're an everydayer, shout out. We talked about Cooper Moore last week when he made his visit to LSU. Cooper Moore was Kansas's ace this past season. He was their Friday night ace. He is a right-handed pitcher. He is a 6'1", 200-pound sophomore. What's interesting is that Cooper Moore was a draft eligible sophomore, again, which we'll get to here in just a quick second. But as a sophomore this past year at Kansas, he became Kansas's ace. He ended up throwing 88 and 2/3 innings pitched with 85 strikeouts. But here's the key. Just 19 walks on the season. So 85 strikeouts to 19 walks. That's all in 88 and 2/3 innings pitched. So you're talking about a guy with excellent command who's not going to give away a lot of at-bats or put a lot of people on base. So an ERA just under 4. And also keep in mind where he was playing. But the stuff is pretty good. He's not going to overpower you with a fastball. He'll sit 92, 93. He'll touch 95, 96. So you're talking about a low mid-90s fastball, a really good slider as well as his out pitch. And guy had pretty good strikeout stuff as he averaged about a strikeout per inning pitched. The key, though, is you got an experienced starting pitcher. This is a guy who led Kansas, was their Friday night guy this past year as a draft-eligible sophomore. Keep in mind what Jay Johnson has done every year that he's been at LSU. Jay Johnson adds starting pitching. Now, we're going to talk about what LSU has coming back in just a second. I'm not ready to say that Cooper Moore is going to slide in and be LSU's Friday night ace in 2026. He may be, but that's certainly far from determined. But what you've added is a guy who has proven he can take the ball on Friday nights in a Power 5 league and perform. He's not going to be overwhelmed by that moment. So go back through Jay Johnson's time at LSU. If it was Paul Skeens and Thatcher Hurd, if it was Luke Holman and Gage Jump. A year ago, of course, it was Anthony Ianson and Devin Sheeran, the two starting pitchers that Jay Johnson added. And clearly here they've added a starter in Cooper Moore. You could throw Zach Cowan in the mix a year ago as well, coming in from Wofford, where he was Wofford's Friday night guy, but became a reliever for LSU in 2025. So you add Cooper Moore, you've checked the box of adding a veteran starting pitcher. Now, the commitment is not really a surprise because while we hinted at it last week, Cooper Moore was a silent commit for LSU. He took the visit to LSU, and before he left, he silently committed. They didn't want it public, and I can understand why they didn't want it public because the draft was a few days away. And as we mentioned, Cooper Moore was a draft eligible sophomore. So there was the possibility that he could sign a pro contract and not show up at LSU. And so obviously for Cooper Moore and for LSU, if you want to keep the news of a commitment quiet, okay, that's perfectly fine. But Jay Johnson knew he had this one in his back pocket, but it's one he had to sweat out during the draft to make sure that Cooper Moore was, in fact, going to end up on campus, and now he will. There's also another tie with Cooper Moore and LSU as the Kansas head coach is Dan Fitzgerald, who was an assistant under Jay Johnson. Remember, Jay Johnson hired Dan Fitzgerald from Dallas Baptist. After spending time at LSU, Fitzgerald got the head coaching job at Kansas, where he coached Cooper Moore this past season. So the big question becomes what is Cooper Moore's role at LSU in 2026? And that's certainly not determined as of this point. He will have the opportunity to come in and compete for a weekend spot, similar to what Zach Cowan did a year ago. But remember, you have no returning starting pitching. Cade Anderson was the number 3 pick in the draft. He led the country in strikeouts. LSU was 17-2 in Cade Anderson's starts. He was magnificent. He's now in the Seattle Mariners organization. You brought in Anthony Ianson, who was also terrific. He's now in the Boston Red Sox organization. He was third in the country in strikeouts, as we all remember. And when you look at how the innings shaped up for LSU, Anderson threw 119 innings. Ianson threw 108 innings. The next closest pitcher was Chase Shores, who threw 63. And then Kason Evans, who threw 52. So you're talking about you had your 2 horses, which we talked about all throughout the season. Those 2 guys could pace you to a national championship, and they did lead you to a national championship, but you lose them both, and so now you have a major, major gaping hole in your weekend rotation as you have to replace everybody. So if you're Jay Johnson and Nate Yeskie, the good news is you have no shortage of options, really good options. Kason Evans is probably the guy that gets the first opportunity to be the Friday night guy. 52 2/3 innings pitched. He was outstanding. His ERA was 2.05, which led LSU. He struck out 71 and walked just 19. So 71 strikeouts in 52 2/3 innings pitched for Kason Evans. So Evans is a guy that certainly most of us feel is going to get the ball with the first opportunity to be the Friday night guy. We have to keep an eye on someone like Connor Ware. Connor Ware was selected in the 15th round, but that certainly does not mean he's going to sign. He was outside of the top 10 rounds, so there's a really good chance Connor Ware could come back. And Connor Ware was outstanding in the junior college ranks, and he just really struggled to find consistency and command this past year. But last fall, LSU's offense couldn't hit Connor Ware. And as I understand, he had a back injury that he was nursing throughout the course of this baseball season, which probably limited his ability, his effectiveness. But if Connor Ware's healthy, he's coming back and certainly will compete for a spot in the weekend rotation. William Schmidt is a guy who many of us feel could take a Cade Anderson-like leap. Anderson came to LSU as the number 1 pitcher in the state. He really struggled as a freshman. The stuff was undeniable. The command, the mound presence was an issue. Cade Anderson had a 27 ERA in SEC play. He just couldn't get SEC hitters out. More mound time, a year of growth and development, and he becomes the number 3 pick in the draft. Maybe something similar for Schmidt, albeit from the right side. Schmidt is a guy with a mid-90s fastball, with the incredible change, the slider. He's got the 4-pitch mix. He's a guy that passed on more than what I was told, close to $3 million coming out of the draft last year, or coming out of high school a year ago. The stuff is undeniable. He just needs command and time and growth and mound presence. And if he develops that, Schmidt could certainly be a guy in the rotation. There's Devin Sheeran, who last year, when he committed to LSU from Mount St. Mary's, was throwing 100. Tore his ACL, didn't pitch for LSU this past season. He's throwing this summer in the Cape and is doing outstanding. Sheeran could be a guy in the weekend rotation as well. And then there's Zach Cowan and Maverick Rizzi and Cooper Williams. The point being, there are no shortage of options for Jay Johnson and Nate Yeskie. What they didn't have among all the guys I just mentioned are guys with a lot of mound time as a starting pitcher. Plenty of stuff, plenty have been starters in their career, plenty could be really good starters at LSU. But you didn't have a lot of guys with a ton of starting experience. You have Zach Cowan, you have Devin Sheeran. Cowan probably a better bullpen option in the SEC. Sheeran could certainly be a starter. But now in adding Cooper Moore, you've got a guy that's been a Power 5 Friday night guy, not overpowering, but another year of development going into his junior year, a draft year, looking to take a step from Kansas up into the SEC to show big league scouts that he can shove against SEC hitters as well. He'll have a nice NIL rev share deal. that allow them to make a little bit of money, and LSU gets a key piece as an experienced Power 5 starting pitcher now part of the roster for 2026. Jay Johnson doing work, the greatest recruiter in college baseball, building a roster that we all think is going to be capable of getting back to Omaha and competing for another national championship. Cooper Moore expected to be a big part of it. We are here in Atlanta at SEC Football Media Days, and I had a chance to sit down with Cole Cubelic of the SEC Network. You'll hear that fun conversation when we continue. It's Locked on LSU, your team every day. Summer sports are in full swing, and whether you're all about baseball under the lights, golf on the green, or high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. I mean, you're already following the action, so why not make it a little more thrilling? With FanDuel, you can get in on the game while your friends are getting sunburned at the beach. Listen, I use FanDuel to track my favorite matchups. The app keeps it fresh. There are new daily promotions, fun ways to bet. The second half of the Major League Baseball season is about to get underway, so if you want to get in on the action every day, you can do so with FanDuel. And if you're new to FanDuel, new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. So open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com to get started. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Cole Cubelic of the SEC Network and does radio on Jocks FM in Birmingham. It's good enough to stop by at SEC Football Media Days. And I always like having a little fun with Cole because if you remember, Cole was a center at Auburn who played on that Auburn team in 1999 that came into Baton Rouge and just throttled LSU. That would be Jerry DiNardo's last season. That Auburn team smoked cigars on the field at LSU. And then 2 years later in 2001, LSU beat Auburn in a de facto SEC West championship game to punch LSU's first ticket ever to the SEC football championship game. So when Cole and I get together, we often have conversations about cigars because of 1999 and 2001. In 2001, the LSU fans stormed the field and smoked cigars in Tiger Stadium on the field, sort of as a payback for 1999, which is kind of where I started our conversation with Cole Cubelic. Cole Cubelic, SEC Network. Did you smoke a cigar in Atlanta?
Not yet. Might.
Where would you go?
Probably to the 50. Depends on how many we won by.
Set him up for it, but that's just so I can get him in a good mood before I have to ask him questions, and hopefully he'll answer really well.
Did you see the one when the last tweet you saw me reference that the guy was like,
really good.
You don't know nothing about winning in Tiger Stadium. Just dropped the photograph on him.
That's a really good.
That's all I got for you, bro.
I mean, I can laugh about it because I remember 2 years later in 2001 winning the West.
Somebody asked me,
smoking a cigar.
Somebody asked me, they said, you think anybody else ever smoked cigars in Tiger Stadium? And I said, only the whole crowd 2 years later.
Yeah, for real, dude. Like, that was an amazing night. And but, you know, I didn't know how to smoke a cigar at that point in my life. So I kept the remainder of the cigar. It's in a jar in my office.
Nice.
The remainder of the cigar, a chunk of the dirt from the eye of the tiger, probably my game tickets in there as well. And it's like 80% of the cigars.
The only thing I watched that game on television. The only thing I remember about it is they kept panning to one dude in the crowd that like literally had a Looney Tunes cigar. Like it was this big around, and like he was passing around to his buddies. Like they had to just make it at home or something. I was like, this is incredible. That's college football, man. Like we love it.
Do you want LSU and Auburn to play?
Are you kidding?
I know, me too.
God, it drives me crazy. Everybody keeps asking me about, what do you think about going to 9 games? And I don't know why, from the business perspective, we don't just see for what it is. That's the last bargaining chip the SEC has. If they want these media rights to go back up again, what are you going to do? Go to 10 one day? I mean, that's about all they have left. And so, you know, people say, do you want Auburn, Georgia to go away? Well, we've already lost Auburn, LSU essentially. And no, I don't want to lose that game. I don't understand why there's not a way to work it out. Y'all are pretty much the problem because you have 7 rivalry games.
Yeah, but we
got to play for the Magnolia Flower. We got to play for the Golden Boot. We got to play for the shoe game, play Florida.
Gotta play Mitch and make a shoe trophy. That would be so good. No, but here's the thing. LSU's not the problem. The problem is Auburn, Georgia, and Bama, Tennessee. That's the problem. Like, if those games didn't have to happen every year just to appease those 4 schools, then we could have a workable solution. Like going a decade and a half without playing in a certain SEC stadium is ludicrous. I mean, it's a fundamental absurdity, but it's been that way.
Let me say this too, because I love people that take this mantra. We can tell a player when he comes to school here, he's going to play in every stadium by the time he leaves. First off, I never thought about that as a player.
I don't care about that.
I never played at Vanderbilt Stadium. And there's not a part of me that sits there and goes, man, if I just could have gone to Nashville. Darn. I'm trying to think where else I did not play. I think I played everywhere else. But I just don't like – there's no kid that goes to school and he says, well, I'm only going there if I'm guaranteed to play at SEC venue.
Here's my point in that. I agree with you, by the way. I don't think that's a recruiting pitch.
Well, half of them aren't even going to be in school that long anyway.
No doubt.
Or at that
especially
place.
Now in the portal.
Right.
My point is I want some type of uniformity whereby you have equitable scheduling. Like, and to do so, you've got to move it around. Like what's happening the last 2 years is silly. Texas came into the league at a time where the schedule they were given.
Or even just Missouri's schedule the last 2 years.
Right. I mean, Missouri's got to be the quietest 10-win team ever.
But you also have to take into consideration that even by rotating, your powerful teams, that is going to rotate to an extent.
Sure.
So that there are going to be some, Kentucky wins 10 2 years in a row. People are like, how are we catching this Kentucky team 2 years in a row? Well, if it was this year, people might not be that upset about it. Like that's people who are always saying, can we just get Vanderbilt on their schedule? They probably don't want them this year. So
Vanderbilt's on LSU schedule, and I'm quite okay with Vanderbilt being on LSU schedule this year. Should it not be?
Vanderbilt ain't going backwards. I'm just going to tell you that.
So they're going to be 6-6 again?
I think they win 7.
Do you think they beat LSU?
Not right this second, no.
Yeah, me either.
That's in Nashville, right?
Yep. It's going to be an early game.
High extra beer, Nashville. They drank y'all out last time. Don't let it happen again.
It'll happen again. But it's going to be 11 a.m. That was 11 a.m.
I was going to say, what does that to do anything? What Joe Burrow throws 16 touchdowns in that game?
What is he taunting the Vanderbilt guy? Go like 5. He's like 5. That's so
awesome.
Good. So good. Do you so everyone asks this question, and I don't have an answer to it yet. I get asked, I'm sure you've been asked. It's like, all right, what team are we sleeping on? What's the team that you came in thinking less of, you leave thinking more of? I've been asked that a bunch. I don't have an answer. Do you?
No, here's the rephrase, and here's what I think is the better question. So you could take any combination of the top 4 right now: Texas, Bama, Georgia, LSU. I do think it's very interesting. I think you'll answer this question correctly. A lot of people have missed this, which has been surprising. When we come to media days and we're trying to pick who's going to win the league, if there's one thing we usually point at, what is it? With a certain team.
Quarterback, schedule.
You hit it the first time. Yet everybody here, Bama, Texas,
not me,
Georgia. I'm just saying that's weird. Okay, but let's just say those 4, you can have 1, 2, 3, 4, any of the 3, whatever. Let's put those aside. The logjam of what's next is incredible. Auburn, Oklahoma, South Carolina, Florida, Tennessee, Ole Miss, Missouri.
LSU.
No, I said you can put LSU with the other teams. Okay. Texas A&M is in that group. Okay. I could sit here and convince you they're going to win 10. I could sit here and convince you they're going to win 6 or 7. Now, I don't think Vanderbilt's necessarily there, but I don't know if Vanderbilt is where Mississippi State and maybe Kentucky is right now. Those would be the 2 that no one has real confidence in for sure, and most people here don't have confidence in Vanderbilt. So here's the question.
A big eye roll from our Bulldog.
They're going to be better. They will be better. Mississippi State's going to be better. Here's the question. Of that other group of whatever I mentioned, 8 to 10 teams, who's going backwards? Now, Tennessee's not going to be what they were last year. Ole Miss not going to be what they were last year. But I'm talking like who's going to go backwards because somebody is. They're not all winning 9 or 10, and one of them's going to win 4 or 5.
Yeah.
And who is that team?
Yeah.
Or maybe teams, plural.
Cole Cubelic. Who do you think it is?
I don't know. I mean, I don't think Tennessee's going to be as good as they were last year, but here's the other part. I'll say the same thing about Tennessee and Ole Miss because everybody's like, Joey Aguilar's not Nico. No, I don't think he is either. When was the last time Josh Heupel had a quarterback that wasn't kind of good?
You see, man, kind of maybe like Hendon Hooker was awesome.
When was the last time he had a quarterback that was a problem?
Was Joe Milton any good?
Joe Milton did enough.
To do what?
They won some games.
some games, but are you trying to win some games?
No,
You're
well,
trying to win a
but-
championship.
Okay, but they don't have
question.
everything around any quarterback to win a championship this year. I don't think. I think their D line is going to be really good. I think the defense is going to be pretty good. They had a good group of tight ends. Running back's never been a problem. Austin Price put me in my place on that when we had him on his show, and I was like, man, I love Dylan Sampson's going to be tough. He goes, all right, let's go back. And he starts railing off these 1,000-yard backs under Josh Heupel, and I'm like, maybe that won't be a big loss. I mean, they've all run for yards against him. And so I just say, like, almost every quarterback he's had has been pretty good. Same thing with Ole Miss. When was the last time we went into a season and said, yeah, I just don't know if this quarterback gets it done for Lane? I mean, like freshman Matt Corral or John Rice Plumlee, they've all been good for him.
John Rice Plumlee.
They've all been good. Every single one's been good.
All I know about John Rice Plumlee is he ran for a bajillion yards in the second half against LSU in 2019. He played baseball too.
He ran for 200 against Bama.
Oh, that's so
they
good.
lost, but
I wish he'd do that some more.
But I'm just saying, Austin Simmons is not going to be a problem, and I don't think Joey Aguilar is going to win the Heisman. But I also don't think he's going to be a big reason that they don't win games.
I got 2 minutes. What do you use to shave your head?
Clippers, electric clippers.
You ever use
the Wall WAHL? I think it's whatever. I
use that handheld skull shaver thing.
See, I don't shave it yet.
All the way down?
Yeah, I don't do that. And I know I probably should because the back, but what I do is I use clippers almost every day. So it doesn't look it doesn't look like Paul.
Yeah.
That's the only thing. The only thing we're trying to avoid is looking like Paul. So I think if you use the clippers every day, but these are just some regular Morants. These are really not a big deal. I got these because my son had Morants, and he was like, we saw him in the store, and he was like, Dad, get those. I have the different color of those. So I did. And they're actually super comfortable.
Do you think an SEC team wins the national championship this year?
If you're putting me on the spot and asking me to pick a national champion right now, I'll take Clemson.
Okay. You're the second person that I've talked to this week who's picked Clemson.
What other smart person did you have on?
David Cohn. Cole Cubelic, SEC Network. Thank you for the time.
You're welcome.
We appreciate our visit with Cole Cubelic as always. I do want to follow up on his point there about Clemson to wrap up Locked on LSU, your team every day. It is always interesting to come to an event like SEC Football Media Days, and you start to get your finger on the pulse of what the league's media thinks. And a lot of times, you may say, who cares what the media thinks? It's true, and a lot of times we're wrong. I mean, we're just a group of people trying to make predictions and create content, but there's a lot of smart people, and Cole's one of them. And I'll tell you, for me, Clemson it's a weird paradigm for me with LSU and Clemson, because I do believe LSU is better. I believe LSU is a playoff team. I think LSU really rivals what Ohio State was a season ago with what they added in the portal, what they're bringing back. And you can say, man, Ohio State was dominant, won the championship. They were, and they did, but they also lost at Oregon, and they lost a home game to Michigan, and they were 10-2. And in a 14 playoff era, they're not even in the playoff. And it's a long season. And remember, there was a chunk of that year where Ohio State's offense, despite the talent, wasn't very good, and Chip Kelly was finding his way. And so when you have so many new players and transfers, it takes time. So I think LSU is going to be really good. And I think Clemson has a lot of challenges. Like, I'm not super sold on Cade Klubnik. That's a big takeaway from this week. There's a lot of people that maybe aren't sold on Klubnik. The physical ability is there, but his ability to be a championship caliber starting quarterback is maybe still up in the air. But, Clemson's also a team a year ago that lost 2 home games. At the place LSU is going to go play in the opener, they lost two games there last year. They lost to Louisville there. They lost to South Carolina at home. And everyone remembers how it ended with them winning the conference and going to the college football playoff. But I also remind you that they were able to play in the conference championship game because Miami gagged away a big lead at Syracuse in the final playing date. And then they went to the championship game and played SMU. Neat. I mean, SMU was a nice story a year ago, but does anyone realistically think SMU was a powerhouse team? I mean, they went and got throttled by Penn State in the first round of the playoff. So, and then, Clemson goes into the playoff and loses. So I guess I look at Clemson as a team that maybe was over its skis a little bit last year, but in the game against LSU in the opener, it is at Clemson. I just mentioned they lost 2 games at home last year. So it's not like they're invincible there. But that is going to be a night game, and Clemson has maybe the best defensive line in college football. And LSU is going to be working in a completely new offensive line in that season opener. Guys that will have never played together. 4 new starters, presuming DJ Chester is a starter for LSU this year, which I think he will be, probably at guard, back in his more natural spot. While Braylon Moore, I expect to be LSU starting center. And you brought in Braylon Moore and Josh Thompson for the opportunity to have an easy transition there with those guys. But until you see the 4 new guys, the 5 starters work together, it's hard to know what that's exactly going to look like. So there may be growing pains like Ohio State a year ago, but you're able to, because you have so much talent, you're able to overcome a lot of those. You just want to be playing your best by the end of the season and hope that you've done enough in the regular season to get yourself into the college football playoff. And it starts with LSU in that season opener. So I'm not super convinced that Clemson is the team a lot of people think they will be, but I still think that's a really, really big challenge for LSU with so much newness going on the road to Clemson in the season opener. Really wish that game was week 2 and not week 1, but schedule's what it is. And we're about a little more than a month away from LSU Clemson there, August the 30th in Clemson, South Carolina. We'll be leading you all the way up to it here on Locked On LSU as we wrap up our coverage here from SEC Football Media Days. But fear not, we still got plenty more that we'll bring you from our coverage this week in Atlanta, Georgia from SEC Football Media Days. Hey, thanks so much for making us your first listen every day. Now for your second listen, how about you go check out The Portal Show? Brian Smith has the latest rumors, portal entries, and signings. Be the most informed fan on the rapid changes to the college football landscape. Find The Portal on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Of course, subscribe to us on your favorite podcast app. Rate us, leave a review. YouTube, smash that like button. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell so you're notified whenever we post a new video. And let a friend know if they love the Tigers. We got you here every single day for Locked On LSU, your team every day.